Southern Gothic is a podcast that explores the history behind the American South's darkest days, greatest mysteries, and most chilling ghost stories. But today, we aren't hitting the history books. We're going to go down to the campfire for our annual Halloween tradition of 13 spooky tales over the course of 13 nights. All right, y'all, it is that time of the year again. There are only 13 nights left until Halloween, and so for each and every one of them, I'm going to be bringing you another good old-fashioned campfire tale to keep you in the spirit of the season. That's right, we are back out in the swamp with a roaring fire here, ready to tell you about some urban legends, haunted places, and, maybe I'll even throw in a couple creepy crawlers for good measure. We'll see. Now, y'all, this series of shorts is one of my favorite things to do all year. So please sit back, relax, and hopefully enjoy them. That is, if you can. Huntsville, Alabama's historic Maple Hill Cemetery is not only one of the largest, but also the oldest cemetery in the state. Founded on 2 acres back in 1822, it now includes over 80,000 burials, covering almost 100 acres of land. It even serves as the home to a number of the state's governors, United States senators, a wide array of local historic figures, and about 200 soldiers from the Civil War. Yet, in spite of the fact that this graveyard is the final resting place for so many souls, there are relatively few hauntings of note. And those that have been recorded pale in comparison to the haunted reputation of this one location that is connected to the cemetery, a playground in the Maple Hill Park, a site that locals call simply and chillingly the Dead Children's Playground. Now, y'all, if you visit this playground in the middle of the day, you'll find that in spite of its reputation, it doesn't look much different than any other place you'd bring your kids. And honestly, with the sun up, there really isn't anything to suggest that you shouldn't bring them there. It's got both a modern swing set and a plastic jungle gym-style climbing wall. However, at night, there's a whole other vibe there. And folks who've passed by or even dared visit claim that the children playing on that swing set don't seem to be the living. For decades, locals have reported that these swings can often be found swaying by themselves on an otherwise calm night, swinging back and forth, rhythmically driven by someone or something unseen. Others have claimed to have spotted orbs of light in the area, bouncing around the playground in the nighttime air. But most eerily of all have been the tales of individuals coming face to face with the apparition of young children. Just last year, Fox 54 News out of Huntsville featured Jacques Reeves, a local author and the co-founder of the Huntsville Ghost Walks. Reeves told several stories about the playground that she had collected over the years, and they all corroborated this local lore, including one of an individual who claimed he actually interacted with the spirit of a young girl while visiting the Dead Children's Playground under the light of the moon. She said that while the young man and his friends were there at night, which was absolutely loitering, the ghost of a little girl appeared wearing a beautiful dress. But if this wasn't frightening enough, he claimed that she walked up to him and told him specifically, "I know who you are." The following morning, the young man told his parents about the experience, describing it in great detail, and his mother burst into tears and immediately left the room, only to return with a photo album. She then opened it up and showed her son a picture of a young girl, to which he confirmed was in fact the exact child he had seen the night before at that playground. Absolutely stunned and possibly overcome with grief, the mother informed her son that the girl in the image was his sister, who had died before he was born. Of course, the question here is, why is this playground so haunted? Well, even in the light of day, it does have a little bit of a creepy factor. After all, it is located in close proximity to this immense cemetery and tucked away in a small plot surrounded on 3 sides by limestone formations. Now, this either adds to the spooky vibes, or, if you ask some folks, it acts as a means to store spectral energy, a psychic battery, if you will. But the most common reason cited for the hauntings is the destruction that was wrought here in Huntsville during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. While there's not a universal consensus on where this pandemic started, one of the first recorded cases of the virus was on March 11, 1918, at Fort Riley in Kansas. Over the following 2 years, it spread internationally at a rapid pace, infecting an estimated 500 million people worldwide, about a third of the world's population at the time. Now, as we've all experienced somewhat similar events in recent years, I'm sure y'all can imagine what happened. Hospitals became overcrowded, and doctors were overworked, and with 50 million dead throughout the world and about 675,000 lives lost here in the United States alone, some communities struggled to find places to bury the dead. Huntsville saw Alabama's first case on September 25, 1918. And in a mere 2 weeks, the flu had spread across the city, infecting almost 1,500 people. But the devastation was hardly contained there. By mid-October, at least 25,000 more cases sprung up in Alabama. And to make matters worse, survival of this horrific disease was not very high among either children or the elderly. And while we may never know exactly how many kids lost their lives in Huntsville due to this awful outbreak, there were very likely hundreds. And their bodies were all said to be laid to rest here at the Maple Hill Cemetery. Of course, local lore claims that the plots that those children were buried in are the ones closest to that infamous playground, the location where so many have purportedly witnessed the apparition of kids playing in the dark of night and swaying without reason. Now, whether or not this is true or just local lore, I can't say for sure. But if you happen to go on down to Alabama and find out for yourself, let me know. Southern Gothic is an independent podcast produced by siblings Brianne and Brandon Schexnayder. And this mini-episode was part of our annual Campfire Stories, a series to get you in the spirit for Halloween. We'll be back with an all-new full-length episode on October 31st. So y'all stick around if you dare.